Welcome back to the Word for the Valley podcast, where we've been following along with Pastor Mike's in-depth teaching through the book of Matthew. And in this episode, Jesus repeats a striking warning in Matthew 18. If something causes you to sin, remove it. But unlike earlier in his teaching, the emphasis here is not just personal holiness. It's about how our actions impact others and the seriousness of leading someone else into sin. In this teaching, we explore what Jesus is calling us to and why the way we live matters not only for ourselves, but for those around us. Let's jump back in with Pastor Mike as he picks back up at chapter 18, verse 8.
Instead, he says in verse 8, if your hand or foot causes you to sin, cut it off and cast it from you. It is better for you to enter into life lame or maimed rather than having 2 hands or 2 feet to be cast into the everlasting fire. And if your eye causes you to sin, pluck it out and cast it from you. It is better for you to enter into life with 1 eye rather than having 2 eyes to be cast into hellfire. Now, Jesus had said these same things before, in Matthew chapter 5, verses 29 and 30. And in that context, he was talking about personal holiness. He was talking about the person on behalf of the individual, right? If you want to get into heaven, you will do whatever it takes so that you don't give yourselves to the sin that will prevent you from coming to faith in Jesus Christ and ultimately being saved and ultimately going to heaven. You'll do whatever it takes. Now, in this context, he uses the same verses and the same words, but he puts it in the context of what this does to other people when we sin against them. Any parent who cares at all about their children know the application of this verse better than I can even preach it. I will do whatever it takes to not hurt my kids. I will do whatever it takes. If I have to gouge out an eye or cut off an arm or whatever it takes to not unnecessarily offend them. Listen, growing up in this world, are you going to raise kids who don't ever get hurt? No, and I hope not. Kind of like, in some ways, the only way to grow is to struggle. So there's going to be challenges, and certain things come to our kids, and it's like I knew challenges would come, but I didn't know that challenge would come. It feels like too much, and if it's meted out by the Lord, He knows how to see them through it. But dear God, anybody but me, I wouldn't want to do it. I wouldn't want to be the person who said that, did that, whatever, to my own children in that way. And so therefore, in light of that, I will do whatever it takes to make sure that I'm not doing that. And sometimes we have to put up a few barriers for ourselves, right? It can be one thing for me to say, you know what, I would never have that kind of relationship with whatever, another woman or something. I need to make sure I don't have the chance to do that. I have an accountability group. I don't text a woman individually. I don't counsel a woman individually. If somebody is even here after church, somebody is there watching and just, making sure that no claim can be made. I'm guarding myself. I'm also guarding myself from accusation. But I want to make sure that I'm completely aboard. I don't want sin to be possible. I don't put myself in dark places. I don't go in unseen places. I don't go where it's okay to be not okay in the Lord, where I can kind of get away from it. It's dark, smoky place. Nobody knows that I'm here and everybody else is doing it anyway. And so I can kind of just get along to, kind of do these kinds of things. Don't do that. Don't do that. Do whatever it takes so that you're not that. Put yourself in the light. Expose yourself in allowing yourself to be seen and recognized. Don't hide. Don't cover things over, right? If you need to remove something from your life, remove it. If you view pornography on your phone, get rid of your phone. You don't need it. You don't need a smartphone. Get a dumb one, okay? Right? They still make them. You plug them into the wall. You can't even carry them around with you, right? What a blessing. Remember those good old days? Right? When the phone was on the wall. I can't make it to the phone right now. I'm doing something else in another part of the house. right? Now the phone comes, gets you. Hey, your phone's ringing. It's like on you. Like, You do whatever it takes. Well, I can't overcome this sin. Yes, you can. And I can help you, right? Sin of pornography, I can help you. Where are your devices? I can remove them for you. And cut off your internet access. Oh, I need internet access. I can't survive without internet access. I said, now you're making me angry. People all over the world surviving quite well without internet access. And what are you using internet access for anyway? Right? The line just comes to my head, so I have to say it. Get a job, you hippie. You know, kind of, it just comes to my head. I don't know where that came from necessarily. It's like, go do something beneficial. You don't need to sit there and peruse all the nonsense on TikTok. Go do something. Go build something. Go make something. Go run. Years ago, I heard this years ago. Just always struck me. Teenagers, 15, 20 years ago. I haven't heard it in a long time, but whatever. Probably will now. And a kid was like, I'm so bored. There's nothing to do. And I'm like, hey, I see a mountain. You want to go climb it? Oh, no, can't do that. There's a creek over here. There's a river over here. You want to go? You want to go play in the river? You want to go fishing or something? You want to go do something, right? Is there not a million things to do? Just live it. Don't constrain yourself to the worldly things that say that you need this. Don't, and then wonder why you get the consequences that the world gets when they have those things. The point is, if you don't want to hurt somebody, you won't. If you're willing to do whatever it takes not to. And this is what Jesus is saying. So take heed, he says in verse 10, that you do not despise one of these little ones. For I say to you that in heaven their angels always see the face of my Father who is in heaven. This is oftentimes the verse people point to in regards to guardian angels over little children. Could possibly be that. It could also talk to the fact that Jesus has dispersed all angels to be ministering spirits to the sons of God, those who will come to faith in Jesus Christ, and that they have the eyes of the Father. Now, sometimes people will ask me, do you think we will know in heaven what's happening on earth? And I think this is the only way it happens. The eyes of the angels are guarding over their little children, right? The new believers or the believers or the little kids, or however this works in regards to guardian angels. I don't know if you get one. I would think that an angel would get tired and want to tap out. I don't want to watch Mike anymore. He's a bother. Would you take over for a little while, and I'm just going to go to Maui or something and do something fun for a little bit. But I don't know that we get one designated angel, right? But the angels do watch. They're ministering spirits. They're here to help us. They're here to aid us. They're here to watch for us, right? Those same ministering spirits have the eye of the Father, right? So if Mike Gogler does something particularly wicked, and the angel on his countenance shows disapproval, disappointment, sadness, pain, and he has the eye of the Father, and the Father reacts in any particular way, and those in heaven are always watching the Father, they will see or sense, I think, probably to a greater degree, something that's happening on earth, but it will only ever be filtered through the face, the countenance of God himself on the throne. I think if that's the way it works, that would be the only way it works, right? Because there's no way you could be up in heaven and watch earth and it still be heaven. There's no way, right? I hope my grandmother's watching me. What, get a bath? How creepy is this? What are you talking about? What do you want your grandmother to be watching? I want to know that my grandmother's here. I want to know that my grandmother's having a great time in heaven, right? And when I get there, we'll reunite, and she'll be like, hey, Mike, let me show you around, right? And then we'll all be looking in the same direction there. I won't be looking at grandma too long, right? I'll be looking at God, and she'll be looking at God. And we'll be very glad to be there together, both looking at God, right? So, a question I get often. Now, verse 11. For the Son of Man has come to save that which was lost. There is a textual debate in verse 11. Should it be included in Matthew? It doesn't matter to me because the context gives it to us here of what he's talking about. So it fits the context. And this verse is included in Luke chapter 19, verse 10. So it's not unbiblical. So whatever you want to do with verse 11, I don't care. Verse 12, what do you think? If a man has 100 sheep, okay? The Son of Man came to seek and save that which was lost, right? If you have 100 sheep and one of them goes astray, does he not leave the 99 and go to the mountains to seek the one that is straying? He's not, if he knows that he can rescue that sheep, or there's even the possibility of it, he's going to go give it a try. And he'll leave the 99 where they're safe, and he'll go and get the one. Again, any parent knows this, right? We have 3 children, okay? 2 of them are doing fine, and one of them is screaming because they nearly cut their arm off or something. When we moved into the house, Aiden and Evan found the tomato plant stakes. And Aiden was probably 2, Evan was probably close to 4, and they thought they could play a game of jousting with tomato plant stakes. They'd never seen tomato plant stakes before. They didn't know what they were. They were just these big round pieces of metal, and you could kind of put it over your head, and then the pointy ends were sticking out the top. And you could run around at each other. And we, on the very move-in day, we thought, well, we almost had an ER trip, and we were just speculating what one of our kids would look like for the rest of their life without an eye, or something like that. Almost there, right? So you get one of the kids in the back, kind of, you're like, he's fine. We got 2 good ones here. Don't worry about that one. I got 99 more kids. What's one? Just a throwaway sheep or whatever. I don't care, right? Again, nobody who cares, nobody with the nature of Christ, as described here in this chapter, can just let the one go without any concern to the lost. Right? He's going to look to try to get them all in the pen. So in verse 13, if he should find it, assuredly I say to you, he rejoices more over that sheep than over the 99 that did not go astray. Now he's rejoicing because it had the potential of being destroyed, of being hurt. He's rejoicing because it's back and it's safe. So even so, it is not the will of your Father who is in heaven that one of these little ones should perish, in the context. So therefore, don't aid in their sinning. Don't aid in their sinning. We live in a day right now where kids, by and large, children, are ruling households. Parents have, by and large, forgotten or lost the ability to be authoritative in their children's lives and will not or cannot say no. And so therefore, permission is implicit approval, right? Permission. If I permit my child to do something by not letting them, so they come to me and they say they want to do something, and I let them do it because I don't want to be the bad guy, because I don't want to say no, and I let them do it, I am giving them approval by refusing to not tell them no. Permission is implicit approval. If I don't want to be the bad guy, then I'm going to be aiding, if they're moving into a life of sin, I will be aiding that and then responsible for that. And this ought to be something that I think more and more parents, especially in the modern day, need to hear and take into consideration. There's a proverb that says, when you spank your child, they won't die, basically. Now, why do you get that proverb? Why does he say that? Because when you spank your child, they tell you, I'm going to die. You're killing me. Right? And listen, we're almost out of this stage, so my stories are going to get really good in about 6 months. Right? I get the 3rd one off to college, and then I can tell you all kinds of good stories without them knowing. And I also know whether or not they were listening online. And then it comes back to bite me. You think it's easy, or you think it's hard when they're little. You know, think the challenges of life are going to get more serious when they get into their teenage years, right? If you don't learn to say no when they're 2, you won't say no when they're 12, and you won't have the ability to say no when they're 22. You have to be willing to do whatever it takes for their benefit so that you don't contribute or aid in their sin. And sometimes it doesn't feel particularly loving, but it's the right thing. And more kids need this. Now, verse 15, the context. And so it's very interesting here. 15 through 17, the context in this instruction is seeking the lost sheep and bringing them back into the fold. What does that look like? Well, I'm not the pastor of the church. I don't need to go do that. Listen, what does it look like to seek a lost sheep and bring them back to the fold? It looks like verse 15, 16, and 17. It is simply dealing with somebody else, another believer, in known sin. That's what it is. Right? And if you don't do this, you can't say, we're seeking and saving that which was lost because we're out there sharing the gospel with unbelievers. That's not what he's talking about. What he's talking about is the one that wanders off into sin and you know about it. How do you handle it? Well, right here, we just try to be nice. We want to be known as the nice church. I'm a little bit leery at the consequences of being nicer than Jesus. Because it doesn't sound all that much fun. A millstone tied around your neck, thrown into the sea. It doesn't sound like that's a great consequence to being nice. Jesus says this, moreover, in the line of seeking and saving that which was lost. Moreover, if your brother, recognize this brother, fellow believer, okay? Paul says in 1 Corinthians 5, I think it's verse 12, that this does not apply to unbelievers. He said if you had to correct unbelievers, he said you'd have to leave the planet to get out of that thing, right? That's not the realm of a responsibility, right? An unbeliever is going to act like an unbeliever. An unbeliever is going to sin because that's what an unbeliever does. They don't need to be corrected in their sin. They just need the gospel. You treat them as a heathen, which we'll say down in verse 17. You just share the gospel with them. You don't point out all of their particular mistakes, right? Once they come to grips with the fact that they're sinners and they need a savior, then you just give them the gospel. Okay? So a brother here, though, is different. Held to a higher standard. They know better. They are saved. They have the Holy Spirit living inside of them. And they are slipping into some sin, some behavior that is clearly outside of the ordained word of God. It's black and white, and they are clearly doing the wrong thing. He says, if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. And if he hears you, you've gained your brother. Now, let me make the point here, right? He clearly mentions sins. It doesn't mean that somebody has offended me. Okay? Wednesday night, Kyle Smigo came in, gave me some good news, and then I picked at him a little bit because he's fun to pick at, right? He was wearing a Pittsburgh Steelers jacket. Little Pittsburgh Steelers sweater. And I said, Kyle, you're wearing a Steelers sweater. He's like, I know. Like, okay. I said, do you like the Steelers? He's like, yeah, kind of, whatever. I said, I am so sorry. And he was like, what? Like, and kind of got taken aback by it, kind of like, oh, they are awful. The Steelers, no good upstanding person can like the Steelers. And you just kind of lay it on them for a little bit kind of thing, right? If I'm offended at a Steelers jacket, I better grow up. It's not what he's talking about. I can't confront somebody because they are wearing a shirt with the other, candidate on it. They're allowed to wear a shirt. Actually, we're very glad they wear a shirt. It's not a sin. It's just an offense. You don't like it. Get over it. Right? If you want to live the world without being offended, this is what's happening in our world, by the way, right? Every time somebody's offended, they want to throw up a lawsuit. Right? You spill hot coffee on you from McDonald's. Duh. That's your lesson. Move on in life. Try not to be so dumb. You don't sue and make money off of it, right? We live in a society where we get offended. We want everybody else to placate our offenses. But now what we're finding is only certain groups get that privilege. Not everybody gets that privilege. Only certain groups get to say those words and do those things. It's just turning, right? If you're offended, the rule of thumb is this. If you can get over it, do it, right? If you can let it go, let it go. If it's not a big deal, don't make it one, all right? If you live your life getting upset at every time somebody offends you, then you're always going to be offended. And that's one of the things you have to ask yourself. Did they actually sin against me? Do I have a verse? Right? Love your neighbor. No. Do I actually have a verse that they did something wrong to me? No. And it might just be an offense. And maybe I can just take it to the Lord and let it go. Now, if you find that the relationship is hindered by the offense, discuss it, but you're looking to reconcile. You're not looking to accuse. Okay? Sometimes things do offend us. Things said, things done. And it's just really hard for us to get over, okay? And you find that the relationship is there's a wedge in the relationship, and the enemy is going to get in there and he's going to use it, right? She made chicken. You really wanted steak. Now all of a sudden you're talking divorce, kind of thing, right? It's not a sin. She just chose the wrong thing, whatever. Or you chose the wrong thing. Discuss it, work it out, be done with it. Okay, don't make mountains out of molehills. Sometimes it does require conversation, and that's okay. Again, discuss it for reconciliation's sake, but it's not a sin to be corrected. Now, also recognize this. If I have sinned against somebody else, I don't wait for them to come and bring that sin to me. Matthew chapter 5, verse 23 says, you can't get to church the next time and bring your gift to the altar and willfully know that you have sinned against somebody else. He says, leave your gift here, then go, confess it to them, and then come back and finish the service, right? So if you've sinned against somebody else, you make confession straight away. Now, if somebody has sinned against you, he says here, go to him and tell him his fault, the sin, between you and him alone. Now, this is not typically what happens first when somebody sins against us. Typically what happens first when somebody sins against us is we tell everybody in our circle how bad they were to us. And we try to develop a bit of a posse because we are going to make this right? They've sinned and we're going to fix them, kind of thing. When in fact, what we've just done is we've just gossiped, and now we're contributing to the whole thing, and it's going to get really cloudy. Some sins can really be fixed that fast. Oh, I didn't know I said that, or I didn't know I did that, or I didn't realize I wasn't intentionally trying it, and yes, it was a bad day, and this kind of thing came out, and I've been struggling with it. Sometimes it can just be that easy, right? Every now and then. So don't build it up any bigger than it needs to. If they've sinned against you, you go to them, let them know what they did. Now listen, if they sin against your wife, honey, go to them and talk to them. It's not my problem. I didn't see it. I wasn't there. I love you. Yes, I love you. Of course, right? That's how the conversation goes. That's what's next. Don't you love me? I love you. But I'm not involved yet. I wasn't there. I didn't see it. Just go take care of it. Don't make it this. Just talk. And you may find that if they hear you, you've gained your brother. Now, it's simple. It's just as simple as that. You don't need them to grovel, get on their knees, make restitution, get out their checkbook. If they just listen to you without arguing back, oh, that's not what I said, or that's not what I did, or that's not, if they just listen, then you let it go. You've gained your brother. You trust from here on out that the Lord's going to do what he needs to do for healing and growth in their life. You've done your job. They hear you. But oftentimes they will not, especially when it becomes serious and somebody starts to dig their heels in. If they will not hear, he says, take with you two or one or two more. Look, that by the mouth of two or three, key word here, by the way, witnesses, every word may be established. If you are the only person on the planet that they've sinned against in this way, and you go to them and they don't agree with you, then you're done. What you don't get to do again is go back to your circle of friends, build up your posse, tell them everything this person did against you, get them all on your team, and then go to them together, right? Where one person has been sinned against and everybody else is there by hearsay. What you need to, if they've sinned against you, is and the Holy Spirit will do this, He'll make you very keen on how they're doing that very same thing to other people. And when they've done that to one person, two persons, three persons, that very same sin that they wouldn't confess to you when you brought it to them, then you go to them and say, listen, we now together, because this is what they've done to sin against us, we now together need to go to this person and have a group conversation with them regarding this particular sin that they've done against us. This is not on hearsay. This is not where the husband jumps in to protect his wife, right? This is people that had been sinned against. They are witnesses of the sin, okay? And are therefore going to deal with it. It says then in verse 17, if he refuses to hear them, then you can tell it to the church. That's when you bring it to the leadership of the church. Now, but tell it to the church. He's not saying that you come and get the pulpit on a Sunday morning and blab everybody. Guess what? Whatever. I don't want to even put a name. I was going to put a name on it. And I don't know anybody by that name, but it would be the one Sunday somebody by that name showed up and I would be in trouble. But nonetheless, so guess what they did to us and make it, publicly, right? You take it to the church leadership for the discernment for how to handle it properly moving forward. And then you hand it over to the authority of somebody else who has authority in the situation, the church and the church leadership. And you allow then that process to go forward. He refuses to hear the three or the two of them, tell it to the church. Now, but if he refuses even to hear the church, let him be to you like a heathen and a tax collector. Which means that something must happen between the leadership of the church where this person is no longer being accepted as a brother. In some churches, they refuse to allow that person communion. In some churches, they refuse to allow that person access to church services and meetings together in these kinds of ways. There is something done where this individual knows that they are not being considered as a Christian on behalf of this church. Now, this still allows the church to continue to minister to them by sharing the gospel and serving them as they would any other sinner. But the privileges of fellowship are gone. And in the life of a healthy church, that matters. The privileges of fellowship are gone. And so, no, you can't issue the right hand of fellowship. No, I know they have a need right now, but we're not doing that for them. That makes it seem as if they're still in good standing here. They're not in good standing here. We can't do that. No, it's not going to happen. Remember the very, very first time it happened, it was years ago now, right? Ernie and Helen Kreider picked up a girl from U-Turn, and she had walked, and she was down at Walmart. And they had known her from the church, and the girl had given her story to them. Very sad story about how mean U-Turn is, this kind of thing. And Ernie and Helen didn't know her very well and thought, well, we're going to help this girl. She has a need. And so they picked up this girl in the car, and they were going to drive her all the way down to Lebanon and then drive back. They didn't have anything better to do on a Thursday, so that's the way it was going to go, kind of thing. They'd gone to Walmart, and they didn't know that was going to take a 4-hour tour or whatever this is, kind of thing, to get down and back. And they were willing to do it beautifully, their hearts. But before they did, they stopped by at my house. And they came to my house, and they said, Mike, this is the deal, and we're going to take this lady down to U-Turn. And I looked at the lady. I said, did you walk? I said, I didn't even know. You walked? Called up. I think it was Ethan at the time. What's the story here? Well, yeah, she walked. I looked at Ernie and Helen, and I said, listen, take her back to Walmart and drop her back off. We're not contributing to this sin, this behavior. She knew the consequences to her decision, and she therefore needs to experience them. Now, Ernie, Ernie, right? His heart is like on the floor, You know, like you tell him, no, Ernie, take her back to Walmart and just leave her there. Just leave her there? Yeah, somebody will come and get her. Who's going to come and get her? I don't know. Just leave her. Ernie, walk away, buddy. Just walk away. You can see like his heart like fall out of his chest, down on the ground, and then I'm like stomping all over it. That's how he feels. That's how he feels. Beautifully for Ernie and Helen, they took her back. They dropped her off, and he never yelled at me from then on about this, right? He didn't bring it back up down the road. And it is only a sign of a healthy church to properly deal with sin in its midst and not be so nice that it walks across all of the boundaries in an effort to be nice and can't actually hold up the standard of the scriptures in its midst. One of the commentators said this: any church is weak in which its members allow sentiment to prevent their being faithful to this great work of attempting to show an erring brother his fault in order that he may be restored. That's not strength. It's not strength in a church. It's weakness. Not being able to tell people right and wrong, truth and error, sin and accepted behavior. To just be so welcoming. I was with my in-laws yesterday, traveling down. We went to SU for a track meet, and then it got postponed, so we went home. And then we went back down again for a track meet, kind of thing, to watch Bryn throw jab down there. And so we're driving through town, and it was on the second trip, and we were talking about something church-related, and we drive by the UCC church with the rainbow flag, and I said, oh, man, I said, it grinds my gears. I don't know where that came from. Who says that? Such dumb talk. Grinds my gears. And so we got talking about some of the things that they're seeing in the church world. They're in a very different church world than I'm in the Presbyterian Church USA, and they're in a whole different world than I'm in. And I love to rub that into my father-in-law, by the way. He talks about his problems. I'm like, thank God I don't have your problems. He's like, he didn't say shut up to me, but he thought it. Just didn't say it. And we drive by, and here's his church. And then my mother-in-law shared a story about somebody that she knew and in the UCC, and just this openness to everything. And almost looking at fundamental evangelical Christians as like the bad guy, the mean guy, right? And seeing themselves as this very open-minded, very expressionistic, very, very welcoming, very loving community. And what we've lost is that love can never sacrifice truth. When it does, it's just nonsense. It's not even love anymore. It's something else entirely. But truth and love together has profound power and strength. Profound power and strength. I do think that this is one of the things that parents don't realize in raising their teenagers. Hold the line. As long as they're in your house, hold the line, right? They may not believe you now. They may hate you for holding the line now, right? But when they're 25 and 35 and 45, all your definitions will begin to make sense. If you don't hold the line now, everything you've said will be lost. Because now love doesn't mean love anymore. Truth doesn't mean truth anymore. The gospel doesn't mean the gospel anymore. And heaven probably doesn't have much basis or reality in your life either. Because you've not stood, right? You've not defined those terms in the way they need to. And for us to live this out in the way that God wants us to is going to require this from us. But listen, He's called us all to die anyway. These are just there to help us along, right? Sometimes you talk to a parent and they've really gone through it with their teenage kid, and they're like, I feel like I'm dying. Hey, listen, I get it. I know that feeling. I know that feeling inside and out. I know that feeling. I feel like I'm just gonna die. I feel like I'm just gonna fall into my bed and then implode into the mattress at 2 a.m. after a conversation that started at 10:30 the night before. I know that feeling, right? Good on you. Because that's exactly what Jesus asked us to do. He asked us to die. These are just the avenues and the opportunities to allow it to happen Don't lament it. This is glory, right? Dying on the field of battle, going down on your shield in some ways, right? This is glory for the Christian, not ease and comfort. And not being over other people to just tell everybody else what to do so that we can live in comfort ourselves, right? Fight the battles. Stand where God wants you to stand.
We learn that when love sacrifices truth, it stops being love. But when truth and love are held together, they carry a strength that leads to clarity, growth, and ultimately restoration. It's not always easy. It requires us to stand firm, to hold the line, and to trust that what God defines as true and good will prove itself over time. And whether in the church or in our families or in our own lives, this is the kind of faithfulness God calls us to. One that doesn't compromise truth, but expresses it through love. All right, that's all for now. Thanks for listening to the Word for the Valley podcast. So long, everyone.